Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boot Camp. I'm Christy, Wright, and I'm going to give you the practical steps you want and the tough love truth you need to succeed in your business. Now today, we are talking about when you should abandon your goals. Should you? Should you just see it through and push through and stick with it? Or should you maybe change your plan, change your goal? Maybe just completely abandon your goal altogether. That is what we're talking about today. Now, many of you know, if you followed me for a while, I am a runner. Now, not a professional runner, not an extraordinary runner. I just like to run. It's an outlet for my stress, and it's something I've always loved to do. So through the years, I have run quite a few 5Ks, which is 3.1 miles, triathlons, half marathons, and even a couple full marathons. Well, I can tell you when I look back at my history of racing, in my history of running, I can remember very distinct years and what happened that year. So let me give you an example. My very first long distance race that I ever trained for or ran in was the 2009 Country Music Full Marathon. So I trained for this race. It was my first long distance race ever. I'd never even done a half marathon. You know me, go big or go home. I just started with the full marathon, which is 26.2 miles. Well, through my training, I had some really good paces during my long runs for my 18-miler, my 20-miler. So I was thinking I was probably on track to run a 4-hour full marathon. Now, let me just start by saying that's pretty naive for your first full marathon to think you can hit 4 hours when it was right on the line. But I thought, you know what? I've got good paces. I think I can do it. Well, that year, in 2009, I was training all during the winter. So you start training in January, February, March, when it's really, really cold here in Nashville, Tennessee. So I was training in 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees. Well, race day came in April that year, y'all, and it was like 85 degrees. It was insanely hot. And very quickly in my run, I changed my goal. I went from trying to get 4 hours for my race time to just trying to survive. I was walking at every single water stop. I was just trying to hang on. People were literally passing out around me because the heat was so extreme when all of us had trained in cold weather. Well, that was 2009. I had to adjust my goal, obviously. In 2010, I attempted the full marathon again, and that year we had extreme thunderstorms and lightning, so much so that at mile 22, all of the police shut down the road where we were supposed to go left, and they forced us to go right. I remember distinctly going down the finish line at only 22 miles for a distance and seeing lightning flash behind the downtown buildings in downtown Nashville. So I finished that race not with a full 26.2 miles, but with about 22 and a half miles. I remember in 2015, I ran the half marathon 3 months after having my son Carter. In 2016, I ran it 6 months pregnant with my second son, Conley. 2018, I trained for it, but then I got a concussion during training, so obviously abandoned the entire plan and didn't race at all. 2019, when I was pregnant with Mary Grace, I had this great idea that I was going to run it pregnant again. And let me just tell you, being pregnant with the third, not the same as being pregnant with the second. I made it to about 10 miles in my training and then literally had to sit down on the side of the road and have my husband come get me. So as you can see through this track record of running races in different distances, there are a million variables that affected my ability to meet my goal. And sometimes I met my goal, and sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I had to change my goal mid-course. Well, here's what's interesting. I have been using a strategy that professional runners use, and I didn't even know it. Did you know that true professional runners, like those people that are elite runners, they travel to races, they are celebrities, they are sponsored by Nike and Reebok and Asics and so on. These people that their livelihood depends on them running races. Did you know that these runners that do this full time don't go all out on every race? Did you know that? Now, their paycheck and their ability to pay their mortgage and feed their kids literally depends on their ability to win a race. And they don't go all out in every race. Here's what's so interesting. And they talk about this in many of the books that they have written. When they get to a race on race day, they can tell pretty quickly, pretty early into the race, if they have a chance to win or not. From the variables of the weather, how their body feels, the wind, the rain, the temperature, what runners are around them, what competition is there. They can tell pretty early on if they have a chance to win or not. And if they don't have a chance to win, you know what they do? They pull back. They pull back. They don't go all out in this race that they don't have a chance to win because of the weather or their variables or their body or so on. They pull back, they save their knee, they save their stress. They don't put their body through that stress and strain if they don't have an opportunity to meet their goal. What's so interesting is that we can actually learn from this example because in life, you know what we do? We do the exact opposite. We set a goal. We make a plan. We create a New Year's resolution. We come up with an idea in our head for our business or our life or whatever. And a million variables in our life affect our ability to meet that goal or not. And those variables can change. And you know what? We don't change course at all. We don't change course at all. We don't change our goal. We don't change our plan. We just hold our feet to the fire, don't we? We just pile on the pressure. And then when we can't keep up, because some of those variables changed, you know what we do? We just beat ourselves up. We just tear ourselves down. We berate ourselves in our mind. We tell ourselves we're lazy, we're a failure. Why can't you do better? We just hold our feet to the fire and we insist on pushing through and forcing this thing that maybe is no longer right anymore. Maybe for you, you're pregnant and you still put pressure on yourself to keep the house as clean as it used to be, for you to work out as much as you used to, for you to still do all the things you used to do, but you don't have the energy to. Why? Because your body is creating little fingers and little toes and eyeballs. That's why you're tired. That's a massive change in your life. Maybe for you, you are taking care of a family member and you are still putting pressure on yourself to show up in your business the same way you used to before you had to step in and take care of this person. You're beating yourself up that you're not showing up with your A game and you don't have the time and energy or even mental capacity to put into your business that you used to have because you're taking care of someone else. That's why. Maybe for you, your whole life is being uprooted. You're moving across the country and you are still beating yourself up that you haven't finished that book that you started. Why haven't you finished it? You haven't finished it because you're packing. You're setting up utilities. You can't even find your toothbrush. That's why. See, we have an idea in our head and we set a goal, we make a plan. Those are good things. Y'all know I am all about goals. But then things in our life change. In the running example, these would be the variables that affect our ability to meet that goal. The weather, the competition, what's going on in this situation, the wind, the way that you feel. There are always a million variables that affect your ability to meet your goal or not. And yes, some you can control, but many you cannot. So where did we get this idea that changing plans is a bad idea? Maybe it's all the inspiration and pep talks we get on Instagram, which are great. They're great motivation and inspiration. But if all you see all day, every day when you're scrolling is suck it up, don't be a pansy, push through, you need more discipline, no pain, no gain, sweat it out, you got it, discipline, stick with it, work harder, discipline, hustle and grind. Okay. If something is just hard, sure, be disciplined, push through, see your goal through. But if something's not right anymore, if something's not a priority in your life anymore, because you're, pregnant, taking care of a family member, moving across the country, your priorities have shifted and that goal no longer makes the cut in your priority list. If that's the case in your situation, don't push through. Stop. I want to tell you to do something crazy. Give up on that goal. Yeah. Stop pushing through on a goal that is no longer right for you. Maybe your house gets clean again when you have your baby, but it won't. You're too tired to clean then too. And then when they're a toddler, they're just making messes behind you. We need to give up on that goal for a while, y'all. We need to give up on that goal for a while. I don't know if it looks like pausing your goal, reassessing your goal, or abandoning that goal altogether. But if something is no longer right for you, you should stop. You shouldn't push through. You shouldn't force it and insist that this thing happen when it's no longer right anymore. So instead of pushing through and insisting that you're going to stick with these goals and these plans that you determined to make happen, even though everything in your world has changed, instead of doing that, stop and ask yourself a very simple but very powerful question. What's right now? This is the question I ask myself at the beginning of every season, at the beginning of every week, and even at the beginning of every day. What's right now? What's right now? What is a priority? What is important? What matters most? Maybe it's the thing that mattered 6 months ago or 6 weeks ago, but maybe it's not. Maybe some of those variables we're talking about have changed. Things have shifted and we have to respond. Let's go back to all of those race examples I gave you in the beginning. In 2009, I went from having a goal to complete a 4-hour marathon to just finishing the marathon. That was absolutely right. It was hot. I could have really hurt myself if I insisted on pushing through at a pace I couldn't maintain in that heat. In 2018, when I got a concussion, I went from having a goal to complete the race to just trying to relearn how to process information when my brain was truly damaged. It took months of recovery to feel normal again, where I could have conversations and process information at the speed that I did before. In 2019, when I was pregnant with Mary Grace, I changed my goal from running the race pregnant to not running at all. I just decided not to have a goal at all except just be pregnant. Just be pregnant, put my feet up. What a concept. In every situation, I gave myself permission to change my goal or abandon it altogether. That wasn't failure. It's not a cop-out. It's not being lazy. It's called being wise. It's called responding to what is going on in your life. It's called acknowledging all of the many variables that are going on all day, every day that affect your ability and even your desire to complete that goal. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. You are making yourself miserable and probably everyone around you miserable because you are so stinking hard-headed that you refuse to give up. Not that I know anything about that, okay? But what if it wasn't giving up? What if it wasn't giving up at all? What if it's simply changing course? What if it's choosing a better path? What if it's choosing a better goal, a better option, a more right solution for right now? Now, I know this can be really hard for us type A, goal-oriented, hard-headed go-getters, so I have actually created a free workshop to help you with this. Join me for my brand new guilt-free goals reset on August 19th. We've all probably already forgotten all of our New Year's resolutions by now, and guess what? That's okay. Just like those professional runners, things in our life have probably changed over the last 8 months. It's a good idea to make some new plans. Go to Guilt Free Goals Reset to register and you'll get your free workbook to go along with the workshop. You'll also get the exclusive link to join us. And if you can't join live, you will get access to the lifetime recordings to view anytime you want. Go to Guilt Free Goals Reset to get your spot. And I'm going to walk you through a simple exercise so you can get clear on what's right now, so you can set goals that are right now. You know, when I think back on the years and the races and the goals that I set and those that I had to reset, I don't have any regrets. I really don't. When I look back at all of those years and all of those examples, I'm amazed that I was able to accomplish it all. The fact that I ran pregnant at all. The fact that I completed a full marathon at all. The fact that I'm still running as a 40-year-old mom of 3 little kids that's tired all the time. That's impressive to me at all. What's interesting is when we look back, we often have more self-compassion in hindsight, seeing what we were able to make it through. What would it look like if we borrowed some of that perspective today? What would it look like if we invited some of that grace, some of that self-compassion into present day? And instead of beating yourself up for not sticking with the plan, not just pushing through and sticking with it with more discipline, what if instead you had the compassion, the grace, the perspective and the wisdom to say, you know, that's not right now. I'm going to change my plans. I'm going to change my goals and I'm going to do what's right now. You know, when you give yourself permission to change your goals as your life changes, you not only shake the guilt and the burden of trying to force things that are no longer right, you actually give yourself permission to pursue the right goals, and you will, in fact, enjoy them a whole lot more. All right, y'all, that's it for this week's episode of Business Bootcamp. Don't forget to head to Guilt Free Goals Reset to get your spot in my free 3-day workshop starting on August 19th. I will give you the steps you need to set new goals that are right for this season so you can finish this year in a way that's right for you. And then be sure to follow this podcast channel so you never miss a new episode. And I'll see you here next week for another new episode of Business Bootcamp.